Hi, this is Kurt from Ethos Reviews. Today we're talking about one of the most legendary rock bands that ever graced the rock and roll genre, and that is the Scorpions. Now, I'm sure everybody knows the song Rock You Like a Hurricane. It was a very popular song. It was from the album Love at First Sting that they did in 1984. That's it right back there, if you can see it. But if you don't know the song, go on YouTube, or at least after this video is over, go search Rock You Like a Hurricane and you'll see the music video. I think you'll know what I'm talking about. But anyway, so the Scorpions have been around for over 40 years now. And finally now they are saying goodbye. And here is their last album called Sting in the Tail. It was released March 23rd, 2010. And after all these years they're finally hanging it up. And I gotta say that this last album is actually really, really good. And it's just a nice farewell to one of the most legendary bands of this generation. You know, you could say that their popularity sort of diminished in the 1990s with the whole grunge movement. You know, with the advent of Nirvana and Soundgarden and Alice in Chains, that sort of like arena rock started to decline a little bit. But, I mean, the Scorpions were still very popular in Europe. But I think, after all, I mean, they still made albums, they still made some pretty good music, and I think, if anything, they got better with age, especially after the new millennium. A lot of their new albums over the past few years have been great, and especially 2007's Humanity Hour 1. That was definitely one of the best Scorpions albums ever. But here is Sting in the Tail, and this is really darn good. And let's take a little bit of a closer look at it. Okay, so taking a closer look at the album itself, I gotta say I really like the album cover. It's pretty cool, and I think a lot of the things on it are pretty symbolic of like a memorial of an ending, you know, with the roses and whatnot. And of course, the name itself, Sting in the Tail. You could say it's the tail end of the career. And maybe that's just the final sting, you know, that would end it on them. Just, you know, everything's probably symbolic, you could say. But the album itself, now, it's actually in my CD player right now. But anyway, what I think is really one of the coolest inclusions I've ever seen in a CD before are guitar picks. This is a set of 4 guitar picks that came with the album. And I was totally surprised. I didn't expect it. On one side, it has the Sting in the Tail insignia, the emblem, and then on the other side, it's got from four other Scorpions albums. There's Love at First Sting, there's Blackout, there's Humanity that I mentioned before, and then a best of album. I gotta say, I mean, they got this right when they did this, because you know that I'm sure a lot of Scorpions fans are guitar players, and they're all about the wailing guitars and trying to play these really cool riffs. And including guitar picks, that's just really awesome. And you know what? I feel like now that I have these guitar picks, I could play some Scorpion stuff myself. Alright, now that I have the Love at First Sting guitar pick, I feel like I could play Rock You Like a Hurricane without a problem. If I want to play the new hit single, Raised on Rock, just flip it around to the Sting in the Tail side. Alright, enough of that. Okay, so there's a lot to like on the new Scorpions album. Like, they do what they do best, really. They have a great rockin' opening song called Raised on Rock, which I played the opening riff to. And it's really, actually, one of the best Scorpion songs I've ever heard. It's just like it has so much energy, and it's just really pumping, that song. It's really great. But for the most part, I think really the highlights of this album are actually the ballads. You know, the Scorpions were known for a lot of those big, heavy ballads, and like Still Lovin' You and Send Me an Angel, those songs back in the past. Oh, and Wind of Change, of course. But this album actually has a lot of really good ballads on it. And, you know, either The Good Die Young, which is very topical about, I think it's about the war in the Middle East and whatnot. Then there's other songs like Lorelei and Sly, and then the ironically titled final track called The Best Is Yet to Come. Very interesting that it's called that. And also there's a very thematic thing going on in Sting in the Tail. I would say that it's, you know, there's definitely a sense of nostalgia, though I wouldn't call this a nostalgic album. I wouldn't even want to say that the Scorpions are a nostalgic act either. But they have, in this album, they make a lot of references to the past, to their roots, to what they grew up with. You know, there's a lot of references to the late 1960s, even references to the Beatles, you know, in the song Spirit of Rock, particularly. They even say they say the phrase 8 days a week. There's references, I think, to the, you know, to the Rolling Stones in here, and maybe even Led Zeppelin as well. I mean, there's just, you see it all around in this album, from each song, you know, especially Raised on Rock, obviously, Spirit of Rock, The Best Is Yet to Come. These things, they mention these little nuances. It's actually pretty cool, and it's definitely the most. It's kind of, I've never seen it before in a Scorpions album, and I've heard almost all of them at this point, and it's never been so thematic, at least in that sense. You know, it's not quite like Humanity, where Humanity, the album was great, but it, you know, it had a particular theme to it that didn't have to do with like roots or anything. But that's what sets Sting in the Tail apart from a lot of its other albums, is that it's just this sense of sentimentality is the word I was looking for. So yeah, Sting in the Tail really is a good album. You know, it kind of stumbles here or there with a couple of, you know, weaker tracks. But really, overall, they just do what they do best. They give you some nice hard rockin' tunes, and they give you a lot of great ballads. And that's really all you could ask for. So, I mean, this is really a terrific farewell album for the fans, and I hope that you enjoy it. And if anything, you know, I would say at least check out the single Raised on Rock, because it really is great. But if you're into the Scorpions, you're definitely going to like it. I mean, if you're into arena rock and anything, you're going to like this album. Alright, that'll do it here from Ethos Reviews. We'll see you next time.